Sell the kids for food. The idea of selling your kids for food sounds like a very Kurt thing to say. For sure. Okay. Oh, I'm excited. In Bloom. I've heard other tone recreations of this in Bloom that didn't sound anything like it. So I'm really pumped to be doing this one. So for this one, I used my good old 1990s Strat. This actually could be an 80s Strat, I'm not sure. Into my Marshall JCM 800, into my Marshall 412 cab. Loaded with a special speaker that I'm gonna talk about that makes or breaks this whole entire thing. And I figured it'd be a really cool time to test out my JCM 800 because like last week, I was up here playing in the studio for hours and I left and went to the store and did a whole bunch of stuff and then came up here like 10 hours later and it was like 80,000 degrees up here. Things were like erupting into flames and it was insane and there was smoke. Okay, it wasn't that bad, but it was super hot up here. And I looked at the back of the JCM and noticed it was still on and the power tubes were red plating. It was very bad. If you own a tube amp, you know red plating is super bad business. It's scary. So yeah, the whole entire bias circuit blew completely out. I ended up having to like rebuild the whole entire negative bias circuit, which was a lot of fun. Actually, no, it really was. It was fun. So I figured today would be a really cool time to try out the JCM 800. And it's sounding very good, might I add. Oh, one note really fast. On guitars, I've read so many conflicting stories that Kurt had his Mustang and his Jag during recording for Nevermind. And then I read that he did not, that he got it after the recording while he was in LA. Honestly, I don't know. I wasn't there. So I'm going to do what I do. I'm just going to use my ears and I'm going to use what sounds best. So in advance, if I'm using the Jag or the Mustang or something, I'm just using it because to me it sounds the closest. Whether Kurt used it or not, I don't know. Nobody's ever gonna know. But honestly, it's not important. It's not important at all because there's so much distortion on all these guitars that you could pretty much use whatever. It's gonna sound the same after it comes out of that pedal, you know? And lastly, I know all of y'all are freaking out right now saying, Aaron, Kurt used the Mesa Boogie. What's wrong with you? I say that a lot. Yes, I know that he used the Mesa Boogie. I don't have one. But if you watched my video on recreating the tone for the Reading Festival, I opened up the schematics and really broke down the Mesa Boogie studio preamp that Kurt had. And I compared it like to my twin reverb and basically showed in the schematic that the clean channel on the Mesa Boogie is like the same exact thing as the twin reverb circuit, minus the tube output stage. That's like it. It's gonna sound the same. If you have a twin, anything clean really. That's why I can even get away with using the JCM 800 because Kurt didn't have the amp imparting any tone. The amp was non-existent. He kept it clean. He wasn't using it for distortion. He was using his pedals for distortion. So really you can do this tone with any amp. It's not going to be important at all. Now, if he was using his amp for distortion and like overdriving it and doing all that kind of stuff, then yes, your amp is very important. But if you're keeping it clean, it's not going to matter. I promise. The absolute key, the key to getting this Nirvana Nevermind tone actually boils down to the speakers. The speakers are without a doubt the biggest tone shaping thing when it comes to creating the Nevermind tone. You're gonna need some 80s Celestion 12T75 speakers. The new ones aren't gonna cut it. They don't sound anything like the vintage ones at all. I've been through a lot of 12T75s. In fact, hold on, I have two 12T75s sitting here. Let's see, this one is a 1987 and this one is a 1990. They're vintage, and even these two sound different from each other. To show you how important the speaker is really to the tone, I kept the exact amp the same and just unplugged out of the Marshall cabinet and went into my quad reverb cabinet with those speakers. It's just mind-blowing. It doesn't even sound remotely close anymore. Yet I didn't change my amp, I didn't change my pedal, I didn't change my guitar, I didn't change anything. I just changed the speakers. That's it. It sounds insanely different. It's crazy. So yeah, finding the right speaker is gonna be the key. I also have another two 12T75s in my cab, and these are 1988 ones that came from Meatloaf, and these ones sound really good. And these two even sound different from each other. It's crazy. Like no two speakers sound the same, but the new ones aren't like even in the same ballpark of getting this tone. So in a nutshell, you're gonna need some vintage ones. What I did is just went through all of mine and I picked the one that sounded closest to the tone of the album. And I think it sounds insanely close, that's for sure. But out of my 4 Celestion 12T75s that I have here, only one like completely nailed it. One of my favorite YouTubers actually did this exact thing. He took a new 12T75 and compared it to a vintage one. And you can hear it's like night and day. I'll put the link in the description, so go check it out after this video and you can see. And here's the good thing, vintage 12T75s aren't really expensive, and I hope to God that I'm not going to change that with this video, because it's definitely not my intention. If they go up, don't blame it on me, because there's a lot of other classic albums recorded with these 12T75s. I'm actually having so much fun with this tone that I decided to like recreate my own mock-up of a fake Nirvana song that never existed. I'm actually finding that like creating this certain tone makes it really easy for songwriting, because I'm sitting in here in my studio and I'm playing through my rig and it sounds like I'm in this studio with Kurt's rig for Nevermind. Like it sounds exactly like it. And speakers is where it's at. Like that's where you're getting most of your tone from when it comes to Nirvana, at least. So having a huge collection of speakers makes a really big difference. And for me, like when I'm writing, I'm just learning like that having certain tones and knowing how to get them can really, really help you. Like in the studio, when you're being creative and stuff, you need to be able to get certain sounds on the fly. And so I'm spending a lot of time now figuring all this stuff out, so later when I'm recording music of my own and all that kind of stuff, I can instantly kind of call up whatever kind of sound I want. So recreating tones is a really good exercise. I think it's good for learning how to get certain sounds. You're not here to copy people, you're not here to make a whole album that sounds exactly like Nirvana, but you can take elements from this type of tone and then start shaping it into your own kind of thing. So that's another reason why I'm doing this whole series, is I feel like it's important to know how to create your own tones, and recreating other people's tones is a really good way to do that. Okay, I digress. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. Other than that, Butch said that he just put 4 mics on Kurt's cab, 1 for each speaker, and for each song Kurt would just pick whatever mic he liked the most. It wasn't like a huge multi-mic setup like Steve Albini would have done. It really boiled down to just 1 mic in front of the cab. It was super minimalistic for Nevermind, and that's what I really like about it. It sounds great. You don't need like 8,000 mics to have good recordings, but for me, it's making recreating this Nevermind tone so much easier, because with In Utero, Steve really did have, I think Kurt said like at one point, 15 mics on his cab. So yeah, good luck to me figuring that shit out. I really dig the simplistic approach sometimes. It works. So yeah, the tone was super simple. It's not hard to do at all. It's just the DS1, and here's my settings for the DS1 here. Into your amp, through a vintage 12T75, boom. You're there. That's it. That's all there is to it. Don't obsess over all the other stuff. It's not important. Anyways, guys, I hope you dug this one. I know I'm rambling a lot, but I'm having just a lot of fun talking about this. I'm passionate about it, and I love it, and I love to share it with you guys. So anyways, I will see you on the next one. Peace.